I got to give you one more Tozer quote. It will require, meaning the fight, it will require a determined heart and more than a little courage to wrench ourselves loose from the grip of our times and return to biblical ways. But it can be done. Every now and then in the past, Christians have had to do it, and history's recorded several large-scale returns led by such men as St. Francis, Martin Luther, George Fox. And we've talked a lot about, those movements being led in Scripture. We've talked a lot about the movement happening right now. And so as we wrap this up, what's your encouragement to the men who are pastors in our churches around the state, but the men and women who fill those congregations?
I'll start out. One of the things when I was studying and doing a deep dive on the first and second Great Awakenings, I found I just felt like the Lord was telling me to look into that, look into Maine, and then I wondered, would Biddeford be mentioned? Because that's where our church is. And I started doing this deep dive, and I found this one from 1740, like a journal from some businessman that was kind of like journaling about what happened in the state of Maine in 1740. And it talks about the kind of the spark that spread the fire of God across the state of Maine in that first Great Awakening in the mid 1700s. And he says something in there. He says the proximate catalyst of all of that was a series of sermons spoken by an obscure pastor from Biddeford named Samuel Willard.
Wow.
And I say that because literally I'm like, what in the world? Like the Great Awakening that spread throughout the state of Maine happened from an obscure, and I love the fact that it said that.
You said obscure.
An obscure pastor from Biddeford. And that's been my prayer. I was like, Lord, may the next Great Awakening of the state of Maine happen through an obscure pastor from Biddeford. And I think that's the word of hope that I would speak to a young person and an older pastor, is that I think gone are the days where especially our young people are looking for these big names and the pomp and the circumstance and all of this, the lights and the fog and all that kind of stuff. And I just wonder if God is just looking for an obscure person to be faithful over the long haul. And so I say that to the young people that are pastoring or leading or elders in churches. I say that to some of the people that are in their, looking towards the end of their days of actively leading and pastoring, and just saying finish well. And your obscurity and faithfulness over the long haul in the same direction means more. And you may never know that your series of sermons from an obscure pastor up in Milo, Maine, could actually spark and be a proximate catalyst for a revival that you could never even imagine. And so that's the thing that I hold on to. That's the thing that gives me hope. And that's the thing that I would just say, man, could we all just be obscure? Could we be obscure, faithful leaders?